Welcome to a new vlog, and I know that it is September 7th and it is supposed to be 27 degrees out, but I am in a hoodie because I'm just ready for all the fall weather. But I went for a hot pink summer vibe still. But anyways, I think I am gonna go to the beach for a couple hours, so I'm gonna have to change. And the book that I'm gonna bring with me is She Who Became the Sun. I meant to read this last week, but I got distracted by new releases. I got an e-arc of The Heart Principle. I got a ALC of The Heart Principle, so I listened to that right away, and then I got an e-arc of White Smoke, so of course I had to stop everything and read that. But if you want my opinions and thoughts on those two books, watch last week's vlog. So now I'm going to prioritize this one because this is a book that I believe I will give 5 stars. This is my kind of fantasy, and to be honest with you, I don't know too much about it, but I will update you as I read it. It's interesting because the back doesn't even have a synopsis on it. It is just quotes from different authors giving their thoughts on it, so we'll see. And the writing is quite small, and I think it's a 400-page book, so this might take me a while to get through, and I don't want to rush it because this kind of fantasy, I really want to get all the history, understand the characters and the politics, and I have read 20 pages and I'm already invested in it. So far it's set in like the 1300s. Let me see what it says here. Part 1 is set in 1345 to 1354, and so far we're following a young girl who seems to be the only girl who's still alive in her village. It's all men and young boys because there's so little food available that parents are choosing to sacrifice their daughters to save their sons, and the only reason she's alive is because she's so good at catching food, getting food, and she's actually like hiding them from the food from her brother and her father because they are just terrible. And that is really all I've read so far, but I'm really intrigued already, and I can tell that I'm gonna love this character. I hope that we follow her throughout the story. But yeah, and we got a great map in here, so yeah, this is just what I'm in the mood for. Especially since I read a lot of horror last week, I'm now ready for some deeper fantasy. And I started this thing, I saw somebody, I'm gonna leave their blog post down below, where in their wrap-ups they post mood reading boards. So they just go on Pinterest and choose photos that reflect the mood in their books they read that month, and I thought that was such a genius idea, so I've started to do that. So I'm gonna post what I have so far of last week's books up here so you can see. But I'm gonna start doing this. I think by the end of the year, when I have all 12 months with the different photos, I think that's gonna be really interesting to look through photos to see what my reading mood was like. And as you can tell by this, that my reading mood has been very dark, very atmospheric. There is, like, I read The Heart Principle, so that's later. I should probably include photos from that, but it's more that my reading mood's darker, so I think I'll have some interesting photos to choose as I'm reading this. I'm not a big annotator, but I think that'll be a good way to capture some of my feelings about books as I'm reading. And I'm also listening to a audiobook from NetGalley of Certain Dark Things, and I love vampire stories. I think I'm 15% into the audiobook and loving this already. We are following a vampire who, I believe her mother and her sister were killed, and she's on the run, and she's in Mexico where being a vampire is illegal. They don't allow that there, so she's hiding, and she decides to feed on a young guy who she has permission, and she pays him. And so we're following his perspective as well because he's like enchanted by her. And then I think we're also following another perspective of a different species of vampire who is hunting the girl, the main character in this one. So I love that there's so many different types of vampires. They have different practices. Some can eat real food, some can't. Some can be in the sun, some can't. So that is interesting. I've only read like the standard kind of vampire, so that's fun. And I know that this is a re-release. I believe this book came out a few years ago but went out of print pretty quickly, so that is great for the author. I know that she's getting a lot more attention after Mexican Gothic, and I think there's potential that I will like this one even more. So don't know what's happening to my voice. But yeah, that's all for now. Not much to update you on, but I'll talk to you soon. haven't done too much reading over the last couple days. I'm only on page 56 of She Who Became the Sun, but I'm already really loving this. I think I read so much last week that I'm just a little overwhelmed with it all. And has anybody been watching Bachelor in Paradise? Oh my god, Monday's episode was so infuriating. And I've been watching that Brandon guy's Instagram followers go down. That's very satisfying, and Natasha's going up. And I didn't watch last night. It's now Wednesday. I didn't watch last night's episode yet, so I want to do that. But this is great so far. I really love her main character. And she has a friendship with one of the boys in this monastery where she is pretending to be her brother. And so we're really following her through the years. It jumps, like every chapter it says second month, so, but it's not month, it's like years later. So she is 11 in the beginning, and I believe she's in her last year of being a novice, so she's like in her late teens at this point. So I love that jumping around, and we're really just getting into the plot of this, but the character development's interesting. This setting is compelling, and I think we're gonna get more of the history and the politics. So loving that. I am 25% into Certain Dark Things, getting more and more into that, and just loving the vampire vibes of that one. And then I went to the drugstore today because I needed to get some of these waters, these raw organic waters. I'm somebody who gets migraines, and I find these really help. So I think a lot of my migraines stem from, it can't be dehydration, I drink a lot of water, but maybe just lack of electrolytes and stuff. And this has 100% of your B6, B12, vitamin E, vitamin C. So it's just, and it's only 20 calories. Not that that really matters, but it's not, there's nothing fake in here. It's just organic. So I do really like those. So I went to get a couple of those, and I saw that they had My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones for 25% off. I guess it was the reader's choice. And I cannot tell you how excited I was to find this. I loved The Only Good Indians. I know that this one is like an homage to slasher films. It has that final girls trope that seems to be really popular. I do want to read the Final Girls support group as well. But I actually am more invested in Stephen Graham Jones as an author than Grady Hendrix, as much as I do like Grady Hendrix. So that was really exciting. I think I might try a chapter tag once I'm done She Who Became the Sun, because there's a few that I want to get to next, but I'm not sure which one to pick up. So that was good. And that's probably all I have to update you on. I also bought pumpkin spice Werther's Original, the soft juice. They are absolutely delicious. Like one of my favorite pumpkin spiced flavored items. I've never had those before. So if you're looking for like a fun treat, definitely try those. Now I'm gonna watch the last night's episode of The Bachelor, and I think this one involves Chris and somebody else, and I know there's some drama there. I haven't been as into, I don't watch The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, but something about Bachelor in Paradise is more compelling to me. So maybe I'll update you on my feelings on that once I watch it. I do know there's something else I wanted to tell you. It is Wednesday, September 8th, so the winner of the Women's Prize was announced, and I wish I had the book in my hand to show you because it's one of the most beautiful books ever, and it's my favorite book of the year, just won the Women's Prize. It's Pure Nessie by Susanna Clark. So I was so impressed with the shortlist in general that I couldn't really pick who I thought was going to win, but secretly that was my favorite book, so I'm thrilled. But it was up against The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, Transcendent Kingdom by Jessie. What else is up there? The one, How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House. That's the only one I haven't read. And then No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood, which I had mixed feelings on. And Unsolid Ground by Claire Fuller. Claire Fuller is one of my favorite authors ever. I thought that book was fantastic. So really any of those books winning, I would have been happy with it. I could see the merit in them all, but Pure Nessie won, and I'm so thrilled. So let me know if you follow any of the prizes. The only ones I really have any interest in is really the Women's Prize, a little bit the Man Booker, and maybe the Giller Prize in Canada, and that's probably it. But if you follow any literary prizes, let me know which ones are good down below, and if you read any of the Women's Prize shortlist or Pure Nessie, let's talk about it because I just love that book so much. So it has been a few days since I updated you. I honestly haven't been reading too much, at least not physically, but I did finish the audiobook for Certain Dark Things this morning. I think what's happened is I just read so many books last week that I kind of just got burnt out and haven't been in the mood. And I've been watching a lot of TV, honestly, and just relaxing and doing some cleaning. I'm about to make some chili, but I just haven't been in the mood to sit down and read. But I will say I really did enjoy certain dark things, especially on audio. I think that's probably the way to listen to it if you're into audiobooks. And it's a really unique take on vampires. I loved that different vampire types don't get along. There's different treaties involved. It's actually a pretty complex world for a book that's under 300 pages. I did end up giving it 3.5 stars, and I think that is because not a lot happened here. It really is about the main character running away from the vampires who killed her family and the police, because being a vampire in Mexico City is illegal. So she's being hunted on all fronts, and then she has like a human companion that she meets and is protecting her. And this turned out to be more of a romance than I thought it was going in. I didn't know it was a romance at all going into this one. And I thought that the romance was sweet and I understood it, but that romance took away from other plot points that I thought were more interesting, and more could have been done, and there could have been more. There was a lot of action, but this is just very much personally for me. I'm not somebody who likes road trip stories or books about people on the run, even movies. It's just, I can find them a bit tedious, but I do think that the writing was beautiful, the setting was interesting, the entire portrayal of vampires was unique and original, and I do encourage people to read this because it really has gotten me in a vampire mood. And I actually started the audiobook for Dracula, which is not something I thought I'd ever prioritize. I always say I want to read Dracula, but this really got me into the mood for it. So I'm reading the full cast. I'm listening to the full cast version. It's I know Alan Cummings is one of the narrators, and I just started it, so I can't say anything. I didn't realize that book was almost 500 pages, but yeah, I'm just really interested in reading a classic vampire story. So thank you, Certain Dark Things, for that, because that inspired me to finally pick up something that's been on my shelves for years. And I haven't read a lot of classics lately, so that'll be good. I haven't gotten much more into She Who Became the Sun, which is nothing about the book, because I think the book is fantastic. So because it's already Saturday, I think I'm going to extend this vlog a little bit, probably into next week. And once I'm done She Who Became the Sun, I'll wrap it up, but I hope I get into a bit more of Dracula in that time as well. So maybe I'll show you me making chili. I'm just making vegetarian chili. There is a art festival kind of going on in the city today. It is, I think there's 20 different locations, like a coffee shop, a brewery, some of the art galleries where they're hosting different artists. So I wouldn't mind walking around and seeing a few of those. Maybe I'll show you that if it's interesting. But yeah, that's all my plans for now. And I'm going to start listening to Dracula a little bit more because I'm really intrigued so far. It's a bit of a gloomy day here today, which makes for a perfect reading day, and I am hoping to make my way through She Who Became the Sun today. I'm on page 160, and I think it's just over 400 pages, so we'll see if I can do it. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of struggling with it. I loved part one. We're following the same character as they work in and hide their identity in this monastery, and there's some interesting conversations about gender. And I really liked one of the friendships that formed there. I really liked this main character, but now in part two, this character is still part of it, but we don't really get their perspective much. We're jumping around to different perspectives, and I'm just kind of confused, not as invested. And I'm hoping that by the time part three comes, everything makes sense to me. And right now, it just seems to be a lot of dialogue between characters I don't know and don't care about. Maybe it's just trying to get some world building going. And I have a feeling we're really going to get into some more war scenes, so maybe we'll get more action, because this part two is a bit of a slog, I'm not going to lie. But I do love the writing. I cannot believe that this is a debut. and I am really intrigued. I know I'm going to want to read the sequel, but yeah, I'm just hopeful that part three kind of picks up the pace and that we get more of what was happening in the first chapter, more from that character, because I love that character so much. And I am deeply invested in Dracula in a way I was not expecting. I love the audiobook narration. It's Tim Curry and Alan Cumming, and then I think it's a full cast. And this tells you a lot. I never knew that Dracula was written in journals and diaries from different characters. I love stuff like that. I think it's such a fun way to tell a story, especially one that's like this. So you kind of think, okay, these are people's journals. So what happened to these people? Are they still alive? Are they dead? It's like a Dracula, so you know it's a vampire story. And it's the perfect setting for weather like this. Here comes a big boat. I'll just show you. So yeah, I think I'm just going to sit out here. I'm actually going to go run down the hill, get a coffee. They have pumpkin scones, so that's nice. Go to a couple art things that they're doing this weekend and sit here if it doesn't rain too much and finish that book and listen to Dracula some more. And then I did a try chapter tag to pick my next book because I know that She Who Became the Sun has the potential to put me in a slump. So I think once I'm done She Who Became the Sun, I'm going to wrap this vlog up. Then I'll start next week vlog and talk about that book in that video. So yeah, I hope you guys had a great week and a relaxing weekend. And maybe I'll show you my pumpkin scone because from what I see online, they look delicious. No pumpkin scones. I went there and they were all sold out already. They didn't have a lot of their baked goods left, but I think that's because they were hosting an artist and a lot of people were there to see her as well. So I'll have to go early Wednesday. I just love all the fall stuff. But there's another coffee shop that has a pumpkin spice chai latte, which sounds delicious. So I'm going to try that tomorrow, I think. I just love coffee shops and when they have new fall treats and drinks and stuff. And I've listened to another chapter of Dracula, and I'm really into it. I forget that there's something about classics that can be really intimidating, but they can be really accessible too. So I need to like read a few more classics. I really want to read Rebecca and The Picture of Dorian Gray. I know that's a lot of people's favorite classic. I read Frankenstein in high school and hated it, but reading Dracula makes me think maybe I will like Frankenstein more if I reread it now as an adult and when I'm not analyzing it in a philosophy class that I couldn't stand. So I'm tempted to try that one again, and I think there's a good narrator for that as well. And maybe audiobooks are the way to go for classics for me. So yeah, I did not expect to be this invested in it. So thank you, Certain Dark Things, for encouraging me to pick that one up because it's fun. I am about halfway through She Became the Sun now, and I think I realize why it's a little disjointed for me, and I think it's the time jumps that we do. We did a lot of time jumps in part 1, and that made sense. But in this part 2, it's hard to keep track of the timeline and where exactly we are in the story. And it seems like everything's progressing so fast, and our main character is doing things that she wouldn't have done in part 1. And I wish I understood why there was that change a little bit better. And I know she's really, even from the very beginning, it's all about survival for her. She really wants to live and she'll do just about anything to do that. But I don't know. I am still enjoying it, don't get me wrong. But I'm not loving it. But I think this is one of those books, there's so much setup happening here that the next books are going to be incredible. So, and I still have hope for the second half. It's just this part 2 that I'm struggling with, but we'll see. I'll let you know once I finish part 3 what I thought. It's now Monday, September 13th, and I just want to wrap up this vlog. I did finish She Who Became the Sun last night, and I really did get more into it. I would say the first 25% and the last 25% were the most interesting to me, and then the middle had some serious pacing issues, and I think I was just confused. And I looked at other reviews, and people are saying the same thing, though there are a lot of 5 stars for this, and I completely understand why. I really thought that it explored some interesting themes, and it is a gender-bent alternate history on the founding of the Ming Dynasty, which I know nothing about, so that could play in to what my confusion for this. So if you have any nonfiction book recommendations about the Ming Dynasty, please leave them down below because I'm definitely curious to learn more. But I liked the sapphic relationship in here. I can definitely see the parallels to the Song of Achilles because their relationship dynamics are definitely similar in a lot of ways, especially the power. Our main character becomes very power hungry in this, and she believes that she can achieve greatness, and she really becomes ruthless in that. But between part 1 and 2, I felt like we skipped a lot of time, and to see her change from who she was in part 1 to part 2, I kind of wanted that gap in time. I wish we got that character development there, because that's what I live for in reading. I love to see how our character progresses into who they are, and I feel like we just jumped right to that, right to the action, right to the war, which can be interesting in its own way. But there are just so many new characters introduced out of nowhere. And I will say I love the writing. I will be reading the sequel. I know that the author is working on the sequel now, or maybe it's done. There's no information about it on Goodreads yet, so I'm curious if it's going to be a long series or what the deal is there. But yeah, I actually do recommend this. Just know that you might be confused at times, but the writing's beautiful, some interesting themes, and that's what I have to say about that for now. And I haven't listened to any more of the Dracula because I want to finish this. So I'm going to start a new book today and a new reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've read She Who Became the Sun or Certain Dark Things, which I also really loved, please talk about them in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, especially because I think this is a book that would be great for book clubs or read-alongs or buddy reads, because there's a lot to dissect here. So let's talk about it. I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.